Afternoon, everybody. Afternoon, everybody. How's it going? Hey, Doug. Thanks, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the 107th meeting of the Corporation of Scouts Canada, what is, I'm sure, to be the most fun 90 minutes we are all going to have in the course of our scouting year. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get kicked off, a couple thoughts. My name's Jay Anderson. I'm the chair of the board, and I'll be kind of leading us through the course of this meeting. Some things just to kind of get us started. First off, a lot of people put a lot of effort into putting what is a relatively short meeting together, but I did just want to acknowledge a couple of people. Dave Crowdis is managing our technology. Kaylee is behind the camera. Linda Rainbow is taking minutes. Sarah is kind of overlording the entire operation, which is great. And then in terms of managing our elections themselves, especially the nominating committee members, Laura is overseeing elections, and then our deputy returning officers are Dan Fay, Ruben D'Souza, and Patricia Sparks. Thanks, everybody, for your help today. An incredibly important administrative point to kick us off. Some of you may recall who have attended recent AGMs. We can typically count on my dad to have dialed into the AGM and be providing us real-time updates on the sound and video quality of the meeting. Unfortunately, he's not joined by phone because he's in the room, so I just want to say hello to my dad, who's right there. So I don't know how we're going to get by managing an audio and video stream without him there to give us updates, guys, but we're going to do our best. We're going to try some new things today, and so this is going to be as complicated as we all choose to make it. And I'd like to think that we're all going to work together and figure this out. We've added some technology to the voting this year to make things a bit simpler, especially for people that weren't able to join us today. So we'll talk about this, and we're going to go through a number of votes. But everyone who's a voting member has got one of these things in front of you. And so I'll just share a couple of thoughts with you around how this is going to work. The votes we do are mostly going to be in one category, which is a simple yes or no vote. That's going to be really easy because all you're going to do is once voting opens, I'll tell you when it's open, you're going to press A or B on the device, the 1/A or the 2/B. And the way that works is once voting opens, you can change your vote as often as you want until voting closes. Once voting is closed, it is going to register the most recent vote you took to the closing of voting. So hopefully you're putting some thought into this ahead of time and voting once. If you suddenly panic at the end and want to change your mind, then you're able to do that. But once voting is closed, voting is closed. We're going to have to leave voting open for about 30 seconds longer than seems normal because our folks that are dialing in remotely, the YouTube stream is on a 30-second delay to what we have in the room here. So we're going to need to leave voting open for a while out of respect for those that have a vote but weren't able to join us today. And then what we'll do is we'll close the vote and I will declare the results of the vote. They will also be up on the screen for us all to see. I would also say, just for those that haven't experienced something like this before, there's a thing called a proxy, which means some people were able to be here today in person and have one of these. Some people weren't able to be here but were able to join remotely, so they're at home or elsewhere on their PC and connecting that way and casting their votes online. There's a third group of people that weren't able to do either, and you're able to do something called a proxy, which means you give your vote to somebody else to vote on your behalf. If you're in the room, you'll know who's holding proxies because those people have two of these. So I have two of these. I'm carrying a proxy for Craig Kielburger, the founder of We, who is one of our honorary members and unfortunately couldn't join. So I'm not cheating. I'm going to vote twice. Craig has authorized me to proxy on his behalf. And the way that works is the proxies are submitted to me before the meeting to sign off and authorize before the person being given the additional vote is then given an additional one of these. So a couple people will have additional devices here. Lastly, the way a vote is going to work, again, for those who haven't done this before, what we're going to do is we're going to read out what's called a motion, which is a statement that you're going to vote for. Mostly those are going to be yes or no answers. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to stand up and ask for someone to move. A move means that you're someone who supports that and you want that to come on behalf of your name. And then I'm going to ask for a seconder. in all cases except adjournment. I can ask for a seconder, who's someone who wants to stand up and have their name attached to that motion. Just a quick reminder, again, for those that have done this before with me, I'm not great with names, so I'm going to do my best, but if you, I'll call on you. If there's multiple people, I'll pick one for both motion or move and second. Then we'll go to a vote. Then we'll declare the results. Then we'll go to the next thing. So that's how we're going to run this thing. All right? So with that, I'm going to call on Brenda Sweeney to lead us through the invocation and gone home.
Thank you very much, Jay. As we come together in Scouting, people of different faiths and different spiritual guidance, let us bow our heads and reflect with gratitude on the year that has passed and look forward with joy for the year that is to come. Let us acknowledge the dedication and hard work of our volunteers and staff. Let us celebrate the accomplishments and adventures of our Scouting youth. Let us be thoughtful in our actions and recognize how they will shape the lives of youth across Canada and around the world. Let us ask for blessings upon those who are ill and unable to be with us today. And finally, let us ask for peace for those who have gone home. Amen.
Amen.
This year, 19 of our friends and colleagues in Scouting have gone home. I'll ask you to listen as we go through the names. There are a few additions to the list you will see in front of you. Okay. Roy Thompson, Scouter of every section in his over 50-plus years with the New Brunswick Council, most recently as a Cub Scouter. Thomas Ward, 2nd Stainer, Shining Waters Council. Thomas was involved with Scouting for over 50 years, and he remained active up until his passing at the age of 91. Jeanette Ward, 2nd Stainer, Shining Waters Council. Jeanette was involved with guiding and Scouting for well over 50 years. She remained active until her passing at the age of 89. Adrian Valks, Colony Scouter, 1st Barrie Foresters, Shining Waters Council. Lorraine Burton. Lorraine was a former employee with the Retail Services Team in Newfoundland and Labrador. Michael Lane, Scouter, 1st Porter Creek in Cascadia through the 1990s. Michael was an integral part of the fantastic badge designs for Yukon. Don LeBeau, with 19th Peterborough, passed this week, volunteered at the group area and council in his 50-plus years with Scouting. Tony Horde, involved in Scouting for over 53 years in the West Serdell area in Fraser Valley Council. Marion Mason, involved in Scouting for over 35 years with the Fraser Valley Council. William Lynch, Forter Scouter with 6th St. Agnes and 10th Seymour Scout groups in Pacific Coast Council. William was active in Scouting for over 35 years. Beverly Carl, former Scouter of the 18th Skookum Kitsilano and 46th Chown Scout groups in Pacific Coast Council. Beverly was active in Scouting for over 55 years. Tyler Dobko, active participant of the Yorkton Zion 8th Scout Group. Jason Cameron, area support manager serving southern Saskatchewan and Westman area in Manitoba. Larry Adams, former field executive employee in Calgary, Ontario, and Regina. Russ McDougall, with the 116th Linwood of Northern Lights Council, more than 40 years as a Scouter in Alberta. William Towill, Scouter at 16th Fort William Troop since 1982 in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Donald Moore, St. George Troop in St. John, New Brunswick Council. Robert Butcher was our retired Executive Director of International Relations and Special Events. He was a big part of organizing CJs for many years. And finally, Jacob Jones of Jones Lake, New Brunswick Council, a Scout. He was 12 years old and received his Chief Scout Award posthumously 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. I'd now like to call on Andrew Price, our Executive Commissioner and CEO, to handle special correspondence and regrets and also the approval of the minutes. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can confirm that there's no special correspondence to bring before the meeting today. I do bring regrets from Andrew Molson, David Eustis, Craig Kielberger, Dale Hooper, and John Naismith, all honorary officers of Scouts Canada. At this time, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the minutes of the 106th meeting of the Corporation of Scouts Canada on November 12th, 2016, as circulated, be approved.
Moved by Andrew Price. Can I ask someone to second, please? Second, Doug Reed. All right, here we go. So there's a direction pad or D-pad across the top just below the screen. If you press the gray button that's in the center of it, that should power the device on, if you haven't already. You want to be on channel 41. Look in the top left corner. It should auto default to be on channel 41 already. Do people mostly see a 41 in the top corner? Anyone not? We're good? Don't be afraid to raise your hand. We got people here to help. Okay? All right, voting is open. So what you're going to do is vote A for yes or B for no. You can always look up on the screen for a guide. So you're going to press A to vote in favor, B to vote against. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Anybody need help? We have deputy returning officers here to help out. Okay, we've got one over here that needs some help. Okay, some help over here. Yeah. It's okay if the answers disappear after you put them in. So it's okay if the answers disappear after you put them in. Yeah. And once you vote with A or B, you don't have to press enter or OK or anything like that. Again, you just press the yes or the no, the A or the B for your vote. Okay. Help over here? Okay. Just over there. We're going to be pros at this by the time the end of the meeting is over. Okay. All right, so polling is closed. Polling is closed, and so the results will be published here, and then I'm required to say, once I look at the votes, I declare the motion carried. So that was our first one. It's going to get easier. Thanks, everybody, for your openness to trying something new. So with that, I'd like to call on Chris Von Roritz for our safety moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon. So, as I suspect is the case for most people, we've heard about this thing called the Canadian Path. And over the last few months or years, we've been rolling it out, and I imagine, like most people, there have been some successes, and there have been some cases where we've had challenges, maybe have to review and try again. A little while ago, one of the local troops in my community was doing its program cycle assessment. So they were looking back at the last 3 months, asking questions about how it went. And one of the questions that was asked was, over the last 3 months, was there any activity you participated in or anything we did where you felt unsafe? Since it was Scouts, the question was actually framed, was anything sketchy? But the same idea was there. And after a moment of reflection, there's this one youth who spoke up, and this is a youth who very seldom actually speaks out, who said, well, at the camp we were at, when we played Capture the Flag, we weren't using flashlights. We were running around in a forest. That was kind of dangerous. And that struck me because this is a youth, again, who doesn't normally speak out like that. And furthermore, he was actually calling into question the safety of one of the most fundamental games of scouting. And so I appreciated that. Not just that, we got this neat insight, but he had the confidence to share that. And so I said, you know what? That's awesome. I'm going to chalk one up for the Canadian Path for leading us to ask those questions. Over the last several months, though, as the discussion about safety has continued, and personally we've seen it at the board, I'm sure you've all seen it locally at conferences like this, and even just reflecting back on my time in scouting, thinking how different it was when I was a scout compared to today, I realized that situation with that youth is not just because of the Canadian Path. Yes, the answer he gave is because of the question we asked. But more significantly, I believe, is the fact that he was comfortable giving that answer. And that we had created an environment where a young person was capable of expressing an opinion that may not have been popular, but that he felt he could put forward without being judged. And so our dialogue about safety is constantly evolving. It's changed. It's no longer just a training course, it's a mindset. But we're also scouts. And that means we focus on youth-led. And while youth-led does drive us in how we develop our program and deliver our program, and we look at youth leadership in training and youth leadership in communications, I'd urge you all to think that youth leadership extends far beyond the more obvious areas. And so the message I want to leave you with is, as we continue to do the great work we do, as scouts around the globe focus on giving young people a voice that's listened to and respected and appreciated, that not only brings us closer to Baden-Powell's vision, but it also makes it a safer organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks very much, Chris. I have the pleasure of delivering the report of the Board of Governors. That's a group that is basically responsible for the governance of the organization. We submit a report for your consideration at the AGM every year, and I'm going to take you through a few thoughts on how the board is feeling about the state of the organization right now. I want to start off with growth, and it is amazing to see that last year, yes, we grew by just over 3%, and that is amazing. And if you look back over the last 40 years, this organization has declined more than it has grown. Growth takes hard work. And so I wanted to start off by, on behalf of the board, thanking everyone in this room for what you have done to help grow the organization. Thank you very much. I think what's also exciting to see is that not only are we growing, 19 of our 20 councils are growing. So we are getting pretty consistent growth across the country, which is, I think, just as exciting as the actual growth metric itself. And I think what's interesting is ultimately, at the end of the day, growth comes as a result of a great plan, and growth comes as a result of hard work to execute that plan. And when we just come back to the simplicity of those 5 priorities that we've been working on together for the last number of years in membership growth, program quality, safety leadership, volunteer support, and group capacity, there's a simplicity there that I think really helps us all. And because it takes hard work, it's going to take multiple years for us to get where we want to go. And what I tend to do is when I think about those 5 priorities, I actually just simplify them even more. To me, what it comes down to is 3 really simple questions in my head. What do youth want is the first one. Youth want to have fun. And what that means is they want to go on great adventures and they want to make new friends. And that's really simple for the first question. What do youth want? The second question for me is what do their parents want? they also want their young people to have fun. They define fun slightly differently. They include the things that young people would say that they want when they include in fun, but they also add, I want to make sure that you guys are helping me develop a well-rounded young person. And I want to make sure that when I put my kid into your care, they're going to come home safe. That's what fun is to a parent. And then the last thing is, what do our volunteers and staff want? And again, in its simplest form, they define fun slightly differently, but that's what they want too. They include all those things that young people and that parents want. But what they also include is they don't want to spend their time on unnecessary administrative burden. They want to be able to connect with people as much as they can so that they too can have fun. At the end of the day, those are the 5 priorities. The 5 priorities aren't some Ivy Tower business planning exercise. The 5 priorities are 3 really simple questions. What do young people want? What do their parents want? And what do our volunteers and staff want? That's all this thing is. And you guys are delivering on that in spades, and we're really starting to see some great results that come from that. So again, I want to say thank you. What I'll end with is just simply to say, sometimes life can get complicated and life can get hard. It will only get as hard as you choose to make it. And what I would encourage everyone to think about is distill it down to those 5 priorities, which come from 3 really simple questions. And that becomes a pretty great guide on where you should head to help us all work together to create a vibrant, robust, exciting organization for young people, for their parents, and for our volunteers and staff. And that's it for me. So with that, I'd like to ask for someone to move acceptance of the report of the Chair of the Board of Governors. Moved, can you say your name?
Ian Mowat.
Moved by Ian Mowat. Second?
Erica Sack.
Seconded by Erica Sackery. All right? Okay. Let's go to the voting. So again, exact same as before. Voting is now open. Anybody need help? We've got the online? Okay. Okay, so voting is closed, and I declare the motion carried. I'd now like to call on our National Key 3, John Estrella, Caitlin Pitton, and Andrew Price to deliver the report of the National Key 3.
Maybe.
We just got to switch PCs.
There you go, perfect. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess we want to start off with the numbers. And that's what Jay mentioned. We grew last year, and that's the biggest growth that we have had since we actually started meaningfully counting full-time members. We allowed more than 2,000 youth, more than we were compared to last year in terms of new members. And that's something that we should really be proud of. Now, we could all say that it's a big number, but at the end of the day, there are actually names associated with each one of those more than 2,000 youth that we brought into the organization. And that would not have been possible without all of you here, without the section scholars who are delivering good programs, and without group commissioners who are making sure that things are getting done, the area, and then the council level.
I think I speak for everyone in this room when I say we've made massive strides in youth leadership in the last number of years, and I can say it's a testament to the young people seated in this room and across the country that we are changing the lives of Canadian youth. We have youth sitting in this room and across the country who are achieving pretty incredible things because of the experiences they've had in scouting. We have youth on senior leadership teams of other organizations. They're managers in their workplaces. They're focusing on safety in new and innovative ways. And, to my team, I continue to be amazed by you guys every day. You guys inspire the work that we do. it comes back to the kids. Like John said, they're not numbers. It's not numbers on a page. It's not about, making it look pretty that we grew 2,000 kids last year, over 2,000. It's not about, more revenue to the organization. It's about kids. It's about every single young person that gets to have this leadership experience, that gets to become a youth spokesperson and be on TV and talk about scouting and the value that they've gotten. We're making a difference in the lives of Canadian kids, and so thank you guys for that.
So, the Canadian Path is our program, and it's been another amazing year. We have over 1,300 sections across the country that have really embraced that seasonal assessment, that are doing, as Chris was talking about in his safety moment, having those conversations, asking key questions, and getting our youth to truly reflect on what they're learning, what they're gaining from their scouting program, and ultimately moving that back into the plan, do, review cycle, and repeat, if you will, but with a higher degree of learning and challenge associated with the next cycle. We published a number of new resources, our handbooks and apps, which are available for all of our sections and all of our scouters. And we continue to work really heavily on our STEM program and making sure that our program content remains relevant for today's youth and parents.
So Good Turn Week. Good Turn Week started a while ago, and it has evolved so much over the last number of years, as I'm sure you guys have seen. We are making more media touches through Good Turn Week than we ever have before. By having these projects spread across the country and our support from RBC over the past couple years, we have been able, this is just last year, we did 33 major community projects. That doesn't include all the ones that groups did through their Good Turn Weeks, but the Good Turn Week team sponsored 33 projects with the RBC funding. And a lot of money was donated by community partners as well. But we're teaching young people that as much as we are becoming leaders in our community, we need to get back to our communities. The communities are the reason we are developing well-rounded young people. We aren't doing this by ourselves. And so we are really taking the opportunity to give back. And this project has matured so much over the last number of years. There's a huge amount of work that goes into it. The Marcom team, I think a huge kudos goes out to them. This would not happen without them. They put in months and months and months worth of work. So huge shout out to you guys, and thanks for all the work you do to make this happen.
The question that I often ask myself every morning is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And that question actually prompts me to look for adventures, new things, try new opportunities. And that's the same type of opportunity that we're providing to the youth by having the Canadian Jamboree. For most of them, it's the first time that they left their province or flew a plane or took a plane. And some of them might have done that. But first time to climb a wall, first time to be away from their parents. And we did that last year through the Canadian Jamboree. Last year also, we sent our biggest contingent to Iceland. And again, another opportunity for our senior age youth to actually participate on an international event and give an excellent representation for our country, for our organization. And that's something that we should all be proud of, And there's so many other things that they did throughout the year, but those are the two key things that we did in terms of organizing large events locally and participating internationally.
We've continued to focus and develop resources that support our scouters in their skills development and enabling them to have the tools, knowledge, and skill they need to deliver and facilitate this amazing Canadian Path program. Last year, with our online David Eustis Learning Center, we created a really cool interactive learning pathway that helps our scouters, in that unified Wood Badge 1 program, so that they come out of it, again, with the knowledge that they need to make sure that each and every youth across the country has those adventurous, youth-led experiences. We also worked really hard, the team from coast to coast, on coming up with an updated Wood Badge 2 program that allows people to build from a competency perspective, again, those expanded and extended skills that they need to provide leadership in our sections.
So we've done a lot of work in the last number of years on safety. This is something that is really important to myself, John and Andrew, and I know a lot of our other senior leaders in this organization. We strive to achieve the mission that no child gets hurt. You know, we understand that we're pushing kids to take new risks, take on new challenges, but we have volunteers that are helping us conduct those in safe ways while kids are still gaining new experiences. And so we are really working to help those scouters develop resources, whatever it may be, to help them so that they can deliver those safe but still amazingly exciting and fun programs. I would be amiss if I did not talk about respect training. So in the last year, we have trained over 16,000 volunteers across the country in child abuse prevention training. That is no small feat. It's a huge kudos to everyone who helped us promote it and to the scouters who took time out of their days and their lives to take it. This is so important. If we can even stop one young person and we can stop abuse from happening to one young person, then we made a difference. But by having 16,000 volunteers trained in abuse prevention and education training, I really hope that we're going to make a huge difference and stop a whole lot more. So thank you guys, to you, and what a difference we've made.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about great gear and a great place where you can buy great gear. That's called the Scout Shop. And they're actually here today, and I encourage you to participate in their session, talk to them a little bit. We've done a lot of work with that team to make sure that we're bringing in some pretty good names, some pretty great tents, sleeping bags, packs. If you haven't checked out the Mackenzie 4 tent from Eureka, by the way, it's an amazing product designed by Scouts for our program, and you won't get a price point like that anywhere else. So there's my plug for the Scout Shop. But more importantly, it does actually, every dollar we raise in that Scout Shop comes back to support all the things that we're talking about here today. It resources us, you know, from our programs to our training. And right now, that team that is from coast to coast is contributing over $8 a member to support the movement. So I want to say thank you to them and just encourage you to check out the Scout Shop.
And I just want to add something to that story. You know, if you order now, in the next 5 minutes, no. Joking aside, I just want to take a moment to thank all of the volunteers for making scouting happen. As much as we try to recognize you and thank you, we still have about 10,000 volunteers who've been with us for about 2 or 3 years that we haven't recognized. They will be recognized. Along with that, we have 10,000 volunteers right now who are on the pipeline, and they're in the process of being recognized, 6,000 of which will be receiving the medal for good service. So again, thank you. And you know, without your help, without your support, financially, your time, your dedication, your inspiration, we wouldn't be here. And we're working really hard to recognize them. You've seen some of you are recognized here, but we have a lot more out there in the field who are delivering our programs every single night in every location across the country.
Yeah, no, again, from the three of us, thank you. You guys are the heart and soul of this organization. I know it's mostly our senior leadership team sitting here in the room, but we know that there's scouters watching at home, and you guys are what we do, and we couldn't do it without you. So huge thank you to all of our scouters and everybody who supports this organization.
Great. Thanks, guys. Can I ask someone to move acceptance of the report of the National Key 3? Moved by Paul Langlois. Seconded?
Heath Johnson.
Heath Johnson. Seconded. Okay, we'll call the question. It's open voting. We just got to move. We're on the report of the chair of the board slide. Hang on one sec. We're just going to reset. Hang on for one sec here. We're almost there. There we go. Okay, polling is open. Again, move to accept the report of the National Key 3 to the membership. Anybody need help? Okay, we'll just give enough time for the folks online. Okay, we are good. Polling is closed. Declare the motion carried. So with that, I'd like to call on Steve Kent, our past chair and chair of the Nominating Committee, to deliver the report of the Nominating Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, everybody. Jay, I know your dad can't do his job this year because he's here instead of watching online, but I'm pleased to report that my wife is watching, and she says that the sound is good and the video is good.
Nice. That's good to know.
And two of my three sons are watching as well. So hi Ben, hi Sam. Actually, can you guys say hi Ben, hi Sam?
Hi Ben, hi Sam.
See, they'll think that's cool. So Ben is a Cub Scout. My middle son, Kieran, is a Beaver Scout. He's gone to a sleepover. And Ben is on his way to my father's house to, he says, watch the Habs beat the Leafs tonight. So we'll see how that goes. One can only hope, I guess. Pleased to present the report on behalf of the Nominating Committee again this year, and I'd like to thank the members of the Nominating Committee for their work. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the approval by the voting members of the Nominating Committee's recommendation for Richard Thomas of Toronto, Ontario as Chair of the Board, Adam Benson of Toronto, Ontario as Vice Chair Strategic, Abigail Ma of Vancouver, British Columbia as Vice Chair Finance, John Estrella of Markham, Ontario as National Commissioner, and Caitlin Pitton of Mission, BC as National Youth Commissioner. I so move.
Moved by Steve Kent. Can I ask for a seconder, please? David Chisholm, second. Chezzy, sorry. Call the question. Polling is open. Good, how are you? Good. All right, polling is closed. I declare the motion carried. Steve, over to you.
Thank you. Further, I'd like to move the approval by the voting members of the Nominating Committee's recommendation of Mark Jocelyn as Honorary Legal Counsel, Andrew Price as Executive Commissioner and Chief Executive Officer, myself, Steve Kent of Mount Pearl, Newfoundland and Labrador, as past Chair of the Board, to be officers of the Scouts Canada Corporation. And I so move.
Moved by Steve Kent. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Blair Sparks, second. Call the question. Polling is open. All right, polling is closed. Declare the motion carried. Steve?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, consistent with the Partners for Canadian Scouting Agreement signed by Scouts Canada on September 21st, 2012, I would like to move approval by the voting members of the Nominating Committee's recommendation of Jean-François Champagne as the representative of l'Association des Scouts du Canada on Scouts Canada's Board of Governors, and I so move.
Moved by Steve Kent. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Sorry? Kenny Hermiston. Seconded by Kenny Hermiston. Okay, call the question. Polling's open. We're good? Okay. Polling is closed. Declare the motion carried. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move the approval by the voting members of the Nominating Committee's recommendation for election as members of the Board of Governors the following people. Andrew Obey from Oakville, Ontario. Brenda Sweeney from Oakville, Ontario. Brigitte Schuler from East St. Paul, Manitoba. David Connolly from Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. Katie Beers, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Mark Little from Calgary, Alberta. Norm Williams from Toronto, Ontario. And Robert Craddock from Calgary, Alberta. And I so move.
Okay, moved by Steve Kent. Can I get a seconder, please? Seconded by Spencer Julian. Call the question. Polling's open. Okay, polling is closed. I declare the motion carried. Steve?
I move that the voting members approve the Nominating Committee's recommendation respecting the election of 6 honorary officers with voting rights and 125 honorary members non-voting of the Scouts Canada Corporation. I so move.
Sorry, moved by Steve Kent. Can I get a seconder, please?
Ashley Guy.
Seconded by Ashley Guy. Call the question. Polling's open. Polling is closed. Declare the motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes the Nominating Committee's report for 2017.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay, everybody bear down. So now what we're going to do is selection of voting members to serve on the nominating committee. Sometimes this is super easy, and sometimes this is a bit of a bear. So we're going to see how we do. It typically involves me getting confused by something and having to ask Andrew Price for clarification, but we're going to do our best here. What we're going to do is this is a slightly different vote. Basically what's going to happen is we're going to open it up to the room for someone to nominate someone to serve on the nominating committee. So the nominating committee over the past 12 months has done its work that's resulted in the people that were put forward that you just voted on now. Now what we're doing is, while some members of the nominating committee are standing members, so for example, Steve is, as past chair, is also chair of the nominating committee. The chair of the board, who, assuming all goes as it is expected to today, Richard Thomas will be a standing member of the nominating committee as our new chair of the board, replacing me. What we also do is elect members of the nominating committee. So what we'll do is we'll open it up for people to nominate others. You need to be a voting member to make the nomination is important. Then what I'll do is when you nominate someone, I'm going to check if that person is willing to serve. And if they are, then they go on the list. Sometimes people say no. So then they'll go on the list. We'll collect everyone on the list, and then we're going to have an election. So the vote will not, and it'll be on the spot, so the vote will not be a yes-no vote. What you'll basically be voting for is your 3 choices, because we need to elect 3 people. So the top 3 vote getters will get on the board, with one consideration being at least one of the 3 members has to be youth. And it's at least one. So if the 3 people that get the most votes are considered to be youth, then all 3 will be on the nominating committee. There's no adult requirement, there is a youth requirement minimum in the 3 people that we elect. So with that, I'll throw it out to the group and ask for nominations for potential members of the nominating committee. Doug?
Nova Scotia, I nominate Spencer Julian.
Okay, Doug Reed nominates Spencer Julian. Spencer, are you willing to serve?
Yes.
Okay, Spencer Julian. And by the way, those recording this, just slow me down if you need a sec or whatever. So, okay. Okay, nominate Evelyn Robertson. Evelyn, are you willing to serve?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Heath Johnson. I'd like to nominate Doug Reed.
Okay, Heath Johnson nominates Doug Reed. Are you willing to serve, Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
David Chesney nominates Erica Zachary.
Okay, David Chesney nominates Erica Zachary. Erica, are you willing to serve? Yep. Okay. Okay, any more nominees? Okay, so we have 4 by my count. Is that right? Okay, so we'll just take a sec. They're going to build the poll here, and then I'll give you some tips on how we're going to manage this. So basically, we will have 4 people running to sit on the nominating committee. We will be electing 3 of the 4, and we'll just take a sec here to get it set up, so just give us a minute. What's that? No, you need someone to nominate you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Okay. So before anyone, so polling's open. If you could just hang on a sec before you vote. The way this is going to work is you can see a letter associated with the name of the person who's up there. What you're going to do is type in, it doesn't matter in what order, type in the 3 letters that correspond to the people you are voting for, and then press OK. So you just type in all 3 letters, and then press OK. And again, your vote isn't counted until polling closes. So if you place your 3 votes, press OK. If you then decide, actually, no, I want to change it, you can then push in 3 letters, press OK, and it'll be your most recent vote is the one that will be counted when polling closes. Let me just check. From a voting standpoint, I just need to check the technology. Do you have to vote for 3? No, you don't have to vote for 3. That's a good question. And what we're also going to do here is elections to the nominating committee are secret ballot, so we don't see the results of votes. We do a secret ballot for nominating committee, so instead of putting names and numbers of votes up on the screen, someone from the back is going to hand me a piece of paper with the 3 names that got the most votes, and I'll just read out those 3 names, so that won't be on the screen. Polling is still open. And polling is now closed. Oh, it's still open. Disregard. Still open. Okay, polling is now closed. Then we're just going to wait a minute. They're going to tabulate the votes and then write them down and bring them over to me. So this typically... Actually, now that I think about it, we might as well just keep going. So what we'll do is we'll keep going through the agenda, and then once they're ready, they'll bring them to me and I'll announce wherever we are in the agenda. So with that, item number 11 is motions presented to the members on behalf of the board. We have none this year. And then with that, I'd like to call up Abigail Ma to present the adoption of the auditor's report and financial statements, the recommendation for the appointment of auditors for 2017-2018, and the adoption of the annual report year ending August 31st, 2017. Abby? Oh, that's a good point. Okay, sorry, that's a great point. Yeah, good catch. Clearly, I should have checked with Andrew before I did that. So, sorry, Abby. That's right, Abby got some exercise. That's great. Okay. Okay, so we have the results of the election for the nominating committee. So serving on the nominating committee for the 2017-2018 scouting year will be Evelyn Robertson, Doug Reed, and Spencer Julian. We've met our youth requirement in that Spencer and Evelyn are both considered to be youth. Thank you in advance for the work that you'll be doing over the next year for us. And with that, Abby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move that the auditor's report for the Scouts Canada National Operation dated November 17, 2017 be accepted, and that the financial statements of the National Operation of Scouts Canada for the year ending August 31st, 2017 be accepted.
Moved by Abigail Ma. Can I get a seconder, please? Yep. Annabelle Loader. Seconded by Annabelle Loader. You can go grab it if you want. Call the question. Polling's open. Okay. We're having, sounds like some, are we okay over here? No? What's the challenge? Okay. Okay. So then can they clear that out to then advance it to this vote? Yeah, okay, yeah. You guys are good over there? Okay, yeah. Everybody else okay? Yeah. Okay. All right, polling is closed. Declare the motion carried.
Thank you. On the recommendation for appointment of auditors for 2017-18 fiscal year, I move that the firm of Kelly, Hubers, and McNeely be appointed as auditors for the national operation for the year ending August 31st, 2018.
Moved by Abigail Ma. Can I get a seconder, please?
Lotus Chung.
Seconded by Lotus Chung. Call the question. Polling's open. Okay, polling is closed. Declare the motion carried. Abby?
Thank you. And on the adoption of the annual report for the year ending August 31st, 2017, I move that the annual report of the National Operation of Scouts Canada for the year ending August 31st, 2017 be adopted.
Moved by Abigail Ma. Can I get a seconder, please? Bill Kowalczyk. Seconded by Bill Kowalczyk. Call the question. Polling's open. Polling is closed. Declare the motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Abby. I do also just want to take a sec to say I thought Abby was awesome this morning. That is not only first thing in the morning, but a really tough topic to have to present to a group of people. So thank you, Abby, for your presentation this morning. Yeah. I'd like to call up Jane Johnston, Deputy National Commissioner, for our tribute to volunteers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been given the distinct honor to pay tribute to our volunteers, though dedicated people who believe in all work and no pay. They are unsung heroes who share their time, their talent, and their energy to inspire and help young people to become confident, contributing citizens of Canada. I ask that we take this occasion to recognize them and thank them for their contributions to Scouts Canada.
Thanks, Jane. Can I get someone to move that, please? Moved by Jean-Francois Labrosse, seconded by Heath Johnson. Polling is open. Call the question. Polling is closed. Declare the motion carried. Thanks, Jane. Thank you. Now I'd like to call on Jean-Francois Labrosse, member of the Board of Governors, to deliver appreciation to sponsors and our partners in serving Canadian youth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of Scouts Canada, I would like to extend our sincere and grateful appreciation to all of our sponsors and partners across this great nation who support and dedicate themselves to aiding us to fulfill our mission to Canadian youth.
Thanks, Jeff. Can I get someone to move that, please? Move. Moved by Dave Frederick, second. Seconded by Justin Chan? Chenier, sorry. Yeah. Okay, call the question. Polling's open. Okay, polling is closed. I declare the motion carried. Next on the agenda, we've got a couple of guests here to deliver remarks on behalf of their respective organizations. First up, I'd like to invite Marc Chaloui, President of l'Association des Scouts du Canada. Marc?
Greetings. Oh. Hard greetings. From l'Association des Scouts du Canada. As always, I'd first like to thank Scouts Canada, Jay Anderson, and Andrew for the invitation here today. Year after year, it's a great pleasure to see you all share, compare notes, and confirm how similar our realities are. 2017 was one of the most important years of the current administration at l'Association. Most notably, we have seen growth in our membership, just like you, completed and passed the GSAT assessment, and started the first year of our new triennial strategic plan. Voted this last April, it is the product of a long and arduous process in which l'Association has decided on its focus for the next 3 years. Our plan is divided in 4 strategies: increase the quality of scouting, project a strong institutional image, improve our organizational governance, including youth involvement, and diversify our revenue stream. And now, with Chris Von Roorts on board, we'll be counting on him to impart Scout Canada's wisdom and share on your past experiences with us in order to achieve these strategies. On the international front, I had the pleasure to be part of an exceptional Canadian delegation this summer at the World Scout Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. Not only has Canada honored its now traditional stance on the presence of youth and leadership roles, it also defended vigorously the very Canadian principle of multilingualism in the World Scout organization. We will continue our work this coming week at the Inter-American Summit in Cusco. We will promote the importance of unity, not only within our country, but within the entire Americas. On this final note, I would like to congratulate Richard Thomas on his nomination as chair. Best of luck for the coming years. Jay, it was a pleasure working with you. Thank you for everything you have given to Canadian Scouting. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And in the name of l'Association des Scouts du Canada, our National Commissioner Sylvain Fredette and myself, I want to thank Scouts Canada again for the invitation. I wish you all a great conclusion to the event. And as always, hope to see you next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Marc. Thank you. Thanks very much, Marc. I'd like to invite Michael Burke, the National Guildmaster with the Canadian Fellowship of BP Guilds, to deliver remarks, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for the invitation to be here today.
Our pleasure.
Good day. I am pleased to bring you greetings on behalf of the Canadian Fellowship of Baden-Powell Guilds and its members. I'm very pleased also to say that our membership has grown as well as yours. With 65% of our guilds re-registering, we are over 700 members now, which is, I don't know the percentage, but we're growing. And we continue to encourage our guilds to register, so I'm thinking we're going to have a great year.
Good.
I'd also like to say that we support scouting in several ways that are very important to us. We offer 2 scholarships to Scouts Canada, one to Eastern Canada and one to Western Canada. And we've been so successful in our efforts over the last year that we are looking in the very near future to including a 3rd scholarship. We also are very active in working around with the program scouters at the camps and at other facilities. We do a lot of maintenance work at a number of camps, and we also offer service so that scouters can continue to run their programs when we work in the background. In these ways, we're very pleased to support scouting and look forward to our continued support of scouting in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike. All right, we are in the home stretch. It is now my pleasure to read what might well be the longest sentence ever in the English language, so bear with me. I have a motion, be it resolved that all acts, bylaws, proceedings, appointments, elections, and payments enacted, made, done, and taken by the Board of Governors and the National Leadership Team members since the last annual meeting of the Corporation, referred to in the minutes of these bodies, of the annual general meeting or of the annual report, or in any way connected with the day-to-day business of the Corporation, are hereby approved and confirmed. Can I ask someone to move that, please? Yeah. Sorry? Sean Craig. Can you just say it back to me to make sure you're good with it? No, I mean the motion. Can you just say Can I get a seconder, please? Yeah. Greg White. Okay, call the question. Polling's open. Okay, poll is closed. Declare the motion carried. And then finally, we need a motion for adjournment. The way this works is there's actually no seconder according to Robert's rules in adjournment. So anyone who's dying to make a motion, this is your last chance. We're going to go right there. Motion to adjourn. Victoria Knapp. No seconder. Please say yes, because if you say no, I stay as chair until the meeting is over. So please say yes. Call the question. Polling's open. Yeah. No filibusters.
Call Steve up. I'm going to say a few things.
All right. So now I'm in a conflict here because while I'm supposed to say these words that officially close the meeting, I'd like to put forward some kind of a motion that we list all the people that voted no. Because I want us to name names. Declare the motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thanks everybody for your help.
All right, don't anyone move anywhere. We have a couple of other people to recognize before we officially leave the room, now that we're officially adjourned. I'd like to invite Steve to come forward as well. First of all, I'm going to share a few thoughts, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve as well. Mr. Anderson, Jay. I know it's Jay, not Mr. Anderson. You don't like that. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's hard to believe we were talking last night that in both a volunteer and now a different capacity, I've had the opportunity to work with Jay for over 7 years through the action plan and a number of amazing adventures that we've taken. We certainly consider each other friends. I wanted to share a couple of the things that I've found tremendously impactful about Jay. He is probably one of the most excellent spokespeople for the organization I've ever come across. It really doesn't matter whether it's a difficult situation or a really positive one. Jay always seems to have the exact right words for the exact right moment. Whether it's at Scouts Day on the Hill, talking to members of cabinet, talking about why scouting is so important for this country, whether it's talking to donors, helping us to secure funding from RBC or TD Bank, Jay always, like I said, has the right words for the right moment. Jay was instrumental in building the current strategic plan. We had a lot of great conversations with a lot of scouters, a lot of people in this room, and Jay certainly shepherded that work through the organization over a period of months and has really landed us in a really solid place as we continue to use those strategies to move the organization forward and bring great experiences to our youth and to our volunteers and employees at Scouts Canada. I think on a personal level, I've really appreciated that while Jay can be that quintessential, amazing professional in the scouting movement, he's also just a down-to-earth scouter. Oftentimes we start our phone conversations with, you know, what was that last scouting trip that he was on, or what was I up to? And he always seems to be doing really amazing outdoor things. And so it's great to hear about, you know, the work that he's done with his own youth, but locally as well, and bringing that scouting spirit alive in his local section. I guess finally, I would say that I had the opportunity to have a few minor outdoor adventures with Jay, one of the most memorable at Camp Bing on the Sunshine Coast, where we both pitched our tents down by the ocean and had a couple of amazing evenings actually camping together, which, we all know that scouting is about that fellowship and getting outdoors, and it's been great, like I said, not only to work with you, but also to have those opportunities on a personal level. So Jay, I want to say thank you on behalf of myself and the people here, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve to say a few more things.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, buddy.
I need someone's help. Mr. Anderson is clearly making a video down there. Can someone take his phone from him so he can come up and join us? And while he does, I have a little safety moment for you. I had an opportunity today to meet one of Jay's former troop scouters and venturer advisors. And here's the safety moment. I learned that when Jay was 15 years old, he borrowed his venturer advisor's car while at camp. So, and I appointed you D&C Child and Youth Safety. You didn't tell me, Jay.
I can't believe we're actually doing this right now.
So I would also ask that someone take the phone from Scouter Dave Keogh so he can come up and join us as well. Jay's former troop scouter and venturer advisor. Jay's dad was also a scouter with the 1st Malton Group, which was a big part of Jay's life growing up. Jay Anderson is one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's also one of the most talented people I've ever worked with, and he's living proof that our public appointments process works. 7 years ago, across the road at Pearson Airport Terminal 1, I met Jay at Starbucks in between flights. And we had put out the call for some volunteers to help with marketing communications. We were looking for one of our first ever Deputy National Commissioners for the role. And a scouter from Oakville that I had never heard of applied for the job. His resume looked good, and as I read through it, I said, this guy's the Vice President of Marketing for Microsoft Canada. He's probably qualified. We should probably meet with him. But the most important thing on his resume was that he was a scouter with a Cub Pack in Oakville, and something that he took tremendous pride in. And yeah, it's proof that the public appointments process works, because we ended up with another amazing national volunteer. In his role as Deputy National Commissioner of Marketing Communications, he helped drive our new brand strategy that is not so new anymore and has played a real role in strengthening our brand. Our brand as an organization wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for the leadership of Jay Anderson.
Yeah.
So many of you. Okay, so 2011, this organization went through some of its darkest hours, and sorry guys, we needed to go through a period of great change and transformation, and Jay stepped out of his role at the time to step into the role of Deputy National. Sorry, Jay.
It's okay.
As Deputy National Commissioner of Child and Youth Safety. And I can honestly tell you, and I think a lot of you would agree, that our organization is healthier and stronger and a safer place for young people because of the work of Jay Anderson. And that's something that I'm tremendously proud of as well. He went on to the board and became our Vice Chair Strategic. He drove the development of the strategic plan that's in place today. And our organization is, oh, thank you. Thanks. I haven't cried at one of these meetings in a while. At least not when I've been sober, anyway.
There it is.
But enough about me. This is about Jay. So after leading us through brand transformation, after leading us through safety transformation, Jay revolutionized our strategic plan that still is guiding our movement forward today. The organization is healthier and stronger because of the work of Jay Anderson. As chair over the last few years, he's provided incredibly strong leadership. The board is stronger, the board is better, the board is healthier and better positioned for success because of the leadership of Jay Anderson. his impact on this organization will be lasting. And Jay, I'm proud of you. I know the gentlemen standing next to you are very proud of you as well. We're all proud of you, and I'm even prouder to call you my friend. Congratulations.
I'll just quickly say thank you. This place is awesome because you guys are awesome, and it's been an absolute blast over the last 7 years. I need a break. I want to spend some time with my kids. I may be back at some point. I'm going to stay involved at a local level. Yes, my parents too. I heard you say that. I want to spend some time with my parents too. But really, thank you. It's been a pleasure doing this work. Some of it has been incredibly hard and emotional, but it's been all for the right reasons. And thank you for the support of everyone in this room. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Jay, on behalf of everyone in the room, we would like to present you with your silver acorn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thanks, man. All right, here we go. It's a big moment right here. Is he going to get it right? There we go. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Whoa! Thank you. Thanks. Thanks very much. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to give you a hug. Yep.
I hope so.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, we all need to leave now.
You want to say something? Sure. Yeah. Story time?
So really not story time. All I really want to say is it's been pretty cool working with Jay, because not only did we move up through the ranks when he was a youth, but when his son got involved in Beavers 10 or 11 years ago, I moved from the area I was doing scouting in to the area that these guys are in. So for about the last 10 or 11 years, the three of us have been together all the way through the ranks. So we've had 3 generations right from Beavers on up to Ventures. So that's really been cool. So that's really all I want to say. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks very much. Thanks, okay. So we may have crossed the point of awkwardness now. So hopefully we can call this thing now. So again, I'll just say, we're not done? Okay.
You can sit down.
Okay. All right. So I'll sit down? Is that okay?
Please.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's another person that we wanted to take a few moments to talk about and recognize this afternoon. Mr. Von Roritz.
I've already seen it.
Chris. I've never seen, or seldom seen a scouter that is as passionate about youth involvement and youth leadership in this organization. Chris and I have worked together in a number of different roles. He served us amazingly well as our council commissioner in Quebec. I remember one of our meetings where he invited me down to say a few words. I think it was when we were developing the strategic plan. And I didn't order the blizzard and the snowstorm or any of those things that he provided for me generously in Montreal. But it was an amazing afternoon, and you know, sort of we embarked together on a number of different journeys after that, had the opportunity or invitation to join him and see him in action at a cub camp at Tamaracuda. He is full of energy and is always amazing with his enthusiasm for the program and encouraging young people, a bit to the effect of what he was sharing with us again during his safety moment today. I can tell you from the numerous meetings we sat together through on the Canadian Path development that we owe a lot to Chris when it comes to, like I said, the adventure, the youth-led aspects of the Canadian Path. He was always at that table making sure that everybody remembered why we're here, that the youth are important, that we need to listen to their voice, that our program needs to be relevant, and it needs to be diverse. And, we had lots of conversations about the importance of not just being, your dad's or your granddad's Boy Scouts, but making sure that this program really meets the needs and aspirations of today's youth. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you in all those various roles, and I certainly, on behalf of myself and the organization, want to say thank you so much for what you've done for this organization, and I know you'll continue to do, because Chris is the kind of guy that every time something comes up that needs some assistance, he's the first person to put his hand up and say, how can I help? It doesn't matter whether it's digging a ditch or whether it's, lugging gear or whether it's contributing in a strategic way. He's the first person to be there saying, I'm here to help. What can I do? How can I make sure that we continue to grow and thrive as an organization and more kids have great scouting experiences? So thank you so much, Chris, for what you've done. And like I said, I know you'll continue to do for scouting.
Chris has never made me cry. He's made me angry more than once, but he's never made me cry. Chris von Roerts is a visionary. He's a talented strategist. He's a true scout. I met Chris first when he was a youth member, and we both got involved at different times on the national level in scouting when it still wasn't very trendy or cool to be promoting youth involvement. And we've come a long, long way thanks to people like Chris von Roerts. Chris has done 2 stints at the national level on the Board of Governors and has played a variety of roles in addition to that. He played a role as a youth member and has served in various capacities in recent years. Chris von Roerts, over his scouting career already, has done some pretty impressive international work on behalf of Scouts Canada. He's been a champion, as Andrew alluded to, of the Canadian Path. He has served as commissioner of his council. He is now going to represent Scouts Canada on the board of l'Association des Scouts du Canada, and we're very proud of that as well. Chris von Roerts, as Andrew quite eloquently said, is a true servant leader. He's a gentleman, he's brilliant, he's sincere, and I've always admired his commitment to this organization. Scouting in Quebec Council and scouting across the entire country is better and stronger because of the work of Chris von Roerts. Youth involvement in this organization is further advanced today as a result of some of the groundwork laid by Chris von Roerts. Our program today in this country is better and more relevant because of people like Chris von Roerts. Chris, you've made an incredible difference in this organization. It's been an honor to work with you over the last decade, and I know we haven't seen the last of you, and I wish you well in your future endeavors, and thanks so much for being one of our great leaders in scouting. Thank you.
Sorry, can I also say something? Sure. No?
If you don't know, Thomas is one of Chris's rovers.
Yeah, so I've known Chris for almost 20 years. We met back in 1999 when my parents made the crazy decision to put me in Beavers. He was my Beaver leader, and yes, back then we called them leaders. He was Rusty back then. And, well,
Still is.
I didn't mean it that way. That was his nickname. But even back then, he had a huge impact on me. And he was always that funny guy who wasn't afraid to make a fool of himself in front of a bunch of kids because he always knew he would make us laugh. And I left scouting for a number of years, but a couple of years ago, actually 3 years ago this past October, I passed by a booth that my old group, Strathmore Scouts, was hosting for recruitment. And Chris came up behind me, and he's like, "Hi, Thomas, you want to be a scout leader?" Sure, why not? But in the past 3 years, Chris has pushed me like to my limit, beyond my limit. He's been really encouraging to me over these past few years. And I definitely would not be here today. I would not be in this room in front of all of you as the Quebec Council Youth Commissioner if it wasn't for his leadership. So, Chris, everything in my scouting journey is all because of you.
Damn it.
I'm still chucked up from Jay before, too.
Chris, it gives me great pleasure to award you with your Silver Wolf.
Congrats, buddy.
Congrats, man. Congrats to you, too.
Yeah, thanks. No, you go ahead.
I have never heard my name said correctly so many times.
Okay. Do we have anything around next steps or whatever? Okay. It's 3:30. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just used to us, like, I asked the time and I didn't believe it because I'm so used to us having to count the votes that we, like, finish and everybody's like, run to next sessions. Anyway, it's 3:30. Our next sessions start at 4. So you've got a little bit of time. But make sure you're in your next sessions right on time. Remember that instead of using the Dundas room, we're using this room. But we can only have about 35 people in this room, so I'm actually in here first. And if there's too many people, I'm kicking you back out the door, so make sure you find a different room. The speed session presenters will be rotating, so there's no need to leave your seat when the session's over. Before you leave, everybody turn around. See Sarah and Keegan and Laura and some other people back there. Those things cost money. We'd like them back.
We let you take home the little green cards in previous years. We don't want you taking these home.
So please make sure you hand them back to someone as you walk out. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.